What you just watched was a short clip of one of the 4 disturbing videos that we're going to play for you today. And at the end of each one, we're going to explain their unsettling backstories. But before we get into that, hello and welcome to Back Horror Stories, where we tell you a few different strange and or creepy stories back to back.
Make sure to watch all the way to the end to figure out how to not meet your end. Alright, on to the video. Paris is the capital of France, and boy is it beautiful. With a population of around 2.1 million people, it's a very popular tourist spot. You can eat exquisite food, and you can see the grand famous Eiffel Tower. You can even go on guided tours all over the city. But underneath Paris lies a very old secret, a secret that we're gonna dive into today. Hundreds of miles of tunnels sit right below the city, and they're not your average tunnel. In the 13th century, passageways were created to mine limestone quarries to build Paris into what it is today. Well, in 1763, Paris started to have a very big problem. There was a cemetery called Les Innocents, and it started to become way too overpacked, and it smelled incredibly bad, like rotting flesh to be exact. And the people that lived nearby started to complain. The smell got so bad, it started to protrude all over the city of Paris, and stores just couldn't bring in any customers. Basically, nothing was done about this because of churches pushing back on the issue, but in 1780, something crazy would happen. In the spring, they had a lot of rain, and it managed to build up around a wall in the cemetery, and it caused that wall to collapse. This spilled hundreds to thousands of rotting corpses all over the place. The city started to think of ways that they could fix the problem and have a better place for the people who've passed away. And that's where the tunnels come in. Basically, underneath Paris, they've stored millions upon millions of bones of the people who have died. It took around 12 years to build, and apparently there's around 200 miles of passageways with only a little less than 2 miles for a tourist attraction. Very, very creepy. But sometime in the early 1990s, a group of people called cataphiles, which is a really bad name, but they're pretty much people who are obsessed with the catacombs and they study them. Well, they found a camera, and the footage that was on it is incredibly eerie. A documentarian by the name of Francis Friedland first brought the video to public eye in 2000 on the 2nd episode of ABC Family's Scariest Places on Earth. The video is of a man first casually walking through the catacombs, and everything seems to be okay. He's looking all around at the writings on the wall and looking at the bones of the deceased people. Then, all of a sudden, I guess he gets spooked or something, and then he starts walking fast. And then he starts walking even faster, and then he starts running, and soon he drops the camera in some water and runs away. Then the camera eventually dies, and that's it. No sign of the man has ever came to light. Francis Friedland and a group of cataphiles had went down to try and find where the man ended up, but never found a trace of him. A lot of speculation as to whether or not this video is real or if it's a hoax has been happening since the video's inception. It definitely could be real because when people start to panic, they do become disoriented, but who knows? Many of the theories believe that Francis and the group of cataphiles just faked it, but why? It just wouldn't make any sense, as 20 years down the line, none of them have claimed ownership for it. But for now, all we have to go on is the lost footage of the man in the catacombs.
You are ungrateful.
You're a waste of space, a waste of our time. Getting coffee now.
Don't drink it. Stupid. So stupid.
That smells awful. Don't drink that coffee.
When the clerk told the men he had called police, the pair took off and left the machine.
Why are you so worthless?
So Sky, tell us how this weekend's weather is
Weather.
shaping out.
Something wrong.
You know what, Chuck? There's just no stopping the weekend weather.
The video I just played for you is a simulation of what it's like to experience schizophrenia, which for those of you that don't know, is a mental disorder that causes both auditory and visual hallucinations. Now, while this particular video is once again a simulation, here's a story from someone who claims to actually experience these type of hallucinations. So their story starts off by them explaining that they've been diagnosed by a doctor as having something called psychosis, which although isn't schizophrenia per se, it is one of the main symptoms. And they don't really give their name, so I'm just going to use the name Ben as a placeholder. Apparently, when Ben was in 10th grade, he experienced something so shocking that to this day, it's still one of the scariest hallucinations he's ever had. It was also, according to him, the first visual hallucination. So one day when he was sitting in class, he excused himself to use the restroom. As he was exiting the classroom, Ben claims to have seen a man with no face standing outside next to the door. At first, he thought it was just his eyes playing tricks on him or something, so he blinked a couple times, and when he looked back, the man was gone. While walking to the restroom, he thought about it for a bit, thinking it was kind of weird, but he ultimately just laughed it off to himself as a joke. After he finally got to the restroom, however, Ben once again saw the man in the doorway, and this time he stared at him, thinking to himself, well, maybe he's just wearing a mask or something. Ben then proceeded to ask the man if he could move out of the way in order for him to use the restroom. But before he could even receive a response, this other kid came out walking through the figure in the doorway and asked Ben who he was talking to. Ben says he just stood there embarrassed without saying anything, and after an awkward pause and two of them exchanging weird glances at one another, the other kid just left. Then the faceless man, still standing in the doorway, finally moved to the side to let Ben enter the restroom. As he was walking in, he kept a close eye on the figure and made sure to keep his distance, but it followed him. And a few seconds later, he saw what looked like a girl walk into the restroom as well. He then claims to have tried to tell her that she was in the wrong bathroom. When he took a closer look at her, he noticed that she didn't have a face either. After that, both of the figures, the man and the girl, started slowly walking towards him. And he started to freak out, so he ran and hid in one of the stalls. At this point, Ben says he realized that he was pretty much crazy, and he started to cry. And this real-life nightmare didn't end until ultimately the school staff came looking for him and talked him into leaving the restroom. But now he says he's since graduated and moved away. And although the two figures still visit him from time to time, they're basically harmless, and he's since gotten used to it. But plenty of other people experience just as bad and maybe even worse hallucinations on a daily basis.
So what you just watched was apparently a video of a witch somewhere in Saudi Arabia that was caught on camera by Saudi policemen. There's really not much information about this video or where it came from or how it got on the internet in the first place. The original video is filmed vertically and about 3 minutes long. The supposed policemen see a figure in what looks to be a white dress just walking. They drive towards it to see what it is or who it is. And then multiple times, the figure comes walking towards the policeman, hobbling pretty slowly. It's a bit terrifying looking because if it's a witch, her head's like distorted downward and she has a horrible limp, but she's kind of quick. Then the video ends with the men screaming, and I guess the witch is kind of far away from the vehicle. As to whether or not it's real, I honestly have no idea. I can't find anything actually debunking it or figuring out what it is. A Reddit user by the name of ScullyXHead said this: I'm from Saudi Arabia and this vid was very popular a long time ago. To this day, honestly, no one knows if the video is fake or not, but I specifically remember everyone going crazy over the fact that whatever it is in the video, it doesn't have a shadow. Also, that creepypasta guy's video didn't make any sense. That YouTube upload he showed wasn't the original, as the video wasn't shared on YouTube originally. It was shared just like most of the stuff here in Middle East, on WhatsApp. I personally think it's a Bedouin person with a mental illness, although the fact that it doesn't have a shadow kind of makes me shiver. I didn't even know that the figure didn't have a shadow, so that's definitely pretty creepy. I guess even the people that live where the video originated from have no idea if it's real or not. Another Reddit user by the name of Naked Wayne said this: I thought this turned out to be a prank on a rookie cop. And then 5 Meter Hammer replied, it did. I don't know where they got this information from, but I can't find it anywhere. So as for what or who the actual video is of, it's a mystery, and I don't know if that'll ever come to light. Saudi Arabia is pretty well known for some pretty heinous things. There are many articles about people who have been executed by beheadings and other terrible forms of death for practicing witchcraft. So if police had saw someone who looked a little bit different than everyone else, who knows, they could have potentially thought that they were a witch. Saudi Arabia's religious police run an anti-witchcraft unit, and they have a sorcery hotline that combats practices like astrology and fortune, saying it's considered un-Islamic. I think that's all completely awful, but for now, all we have is the video of the Saudi Arabia police encountering a witch. Do you think it was a witch, or do you think it was an elderly person that just needed a little bit of help?
The fourth and final creepy video you just watched is called Blank Room Soup. It was first published on the internet in the year 2005, but despite going viral and becoming very popular, nobody has ever officially taken credit for it. This has led people to come up with countless theories as to what it's all about. Some of these include the idea that maybe it's an art project, a joke, or even a hostage film. Nobody really knows. But as you've now seen by watching much of it, the content involves a man crying and eating a bowl of soup while two figures in strange costumes watch him from behind. Now, as for what's in the soup, all I can say is, I hope it's not human remains as some people have suggested. Regardless, in the year 2016, a YouTube channel called Rainbot, one I suggest you consider following, did a deep dive into the video, and what she found was absolutely disturbing. After first learning that the two characters in the video were created by a man named Raymond Percy, who's actually a reasonably well-known animator in Hollywood with several impressive accolades, she contacted him to see if he knew more about the Blank Room Soup video itself. And to her surprise, he actually sent a pretty long email message back. Now, I'm not going to read you the entire thing, but I will summarize. So Raymond started off by taking credit for the two characters in the video, in which he apparently called Ray Ray. Ray Ray started out as an art project that he came up with, and it later turned into a much larger phenomenon. So big that they even began touring all across the United States and to parts of Europe. One day, when they performed at a club on the Sunset Strip of Hollywood called the Key Club, a few of the costumes were stolen from a dressing room located in the RV out back. And then a few weeks later, Raymond says he got home from work, turned on his computer, and noticed an email with an attachment. When he opened it up, a strange video started playing, with a man crying while eating soup and being watched by two people wearing his stolen Ray Ray costumes. Although he found it a bit strange, he decided to post the video to YouTube in order to share it with his friends. One of the most bizarre aspects of it to him was that the characters moved and behaved exactly the way they should have. But according to him, this was choreography that took most performers weeks to learn. He then speculated that whoever took the costumes and made the video must have been watching the Ray Ray performances pretty religiously. He also said that there are other videos, some of which only he has. The email ultimately ended with the words, "You're making me wonder if the people who made them," meaning the videos, "are seeing all this online attention too, ... So in the end, Rainbot wasn't able to come to a definitive conclusion about who made the videos and for what reason, but maybe we have to admit to ourselves that regardless who made them, and whether or not Raymond Percy's story is actually true, it's a lot more fun if it remains a mystery. Alright guys, that's going to do it for us today.
If you enjoyed this video and want to see more of our content, our TikTok and our Instagram account is in the bio.
Also, if you have any ideas for videos you'd like us to make in the future, please let us know in the comments below, and it could end up being in a future video. Thank you for watching.